the truck is behind me, the lift is installed, the tires are installed. I wanted to do a quick rundown before we get started on the actual install part of the video because it did not go as planned. I didn't get as much filmed as I wanted to because I was on a time constraint. So I'm going to show you where it rubs, what I've trimmed, the lift itself, and then after this we will do the actual install video. So stay tuned if you want to watch that. Subscribe, like the video, and let me know in the comments if you have the same lift and how well you like it. Alrighty, so we have the 35 by 12 and a half Turo Trail blades. We have the 20 by 10 minus 25 Moto metal rims, and they do look really well. They do have quite a bit of a poke, as you could call it. The front is wider than the back, so I may have to, you can see it right there, so I may have to put some spacers on the back. But I don't know if I will or not. It's not that bad. As we come in under here, we can see we have the lift block and the pre-charge spacer we can see right here. And control arms all stayed the same. Your drop bracket for your brake lines and stuff is right there. And you can see the spacer with the new bolts there. Underneath, we have the Rough Country drop brackets, skid plates, and that's the front. In the rear, I will show you once again the front. The front does stick out farther than the rear. You can kind of tell because of the Nerf bar there. On the back, we have the new Rough Country struts. We have the drop bracket for the, that's for the emergency brake line. And we'll go back here and you can see the anti-wrap blocks with the new U-bolts, Rough Country shocks. There's the new drop hitch since we did lift it. I like it. And the other side is about the same. We have no issues with wires pulling. Okay, surprisingly for the trimming, I did not have to do anything over here. You see the lip, and I've showed you this in a previous tire and wheel video, but I've previously pushed this back, just hit it with a hammer, just enough from the other setup I had, and it currently does not rub at all. There's a little bit right here, but I'm not sure if that was from the old truck or the new one, so, or the old Diff or the new I should say, but no issues back here. Now the front, we did have some issues. We started by trimming this. A little rough, I can clean it up a little bit, but we trimmed it forward, so that's about what she looks like. The inside, I did not trim until after I drove it for a while, but you can see right in here, I just trimmed a little lip off. It doesn't really look like it's been trimmed, and that's all the rubbing we have. We have no issues other than the front. And that is full crank, so it looks like it will rub when I turn it back the other way, but it doesn't. I do not go off-roading. This is about the most off-roading I go is a little field. So that is it. Hey guys, so this video is going to go different than planned because since this is my first time, it is not very easy. So I'm going to explain the steps just real quick. The first connector you're going to disconnect is your anti-lock brakes, and then you're going to unscrew it from this bolt, and then you're going to unscrew it from the top of the knuckle, and then that will release your lines. Make sure your brakes are not hanging on your brake line. You want to keep them bungeed up, which I have. Secondly, we removed the rotor, and then we removed the tie rod and the upper and lower ball joints. The bottoms were a pain in the butt to get off. Axle nuts were not bad, but that is where I'm at so far. Here is the knuckle. There is the axle nut and the rotor. And there we go. I got both sides done, so now I'm going to continue. Okay, the next couple steps I just completed are removing the sway bar end links on both sides, and I removed the lower strut bolts, so now it's loose. Next step is to take the top 3 off, and then we're going to remove the shock. Alrighty, so I made a little more progress. I have the struts out. I ended up taking the strut bolts off up there from actually under the hood with a really long extension. We have the axle front diff shafts out. That's it. Now we're going to take off the control arms. I'm keeping everything nice and organized. Alrighty guys, so it's starting to get dark as you can see, but we got the cross members out, the rear, we have the control arms, the shocks, of course the brakes, same on this side, and yeah, so I think we're going to call it and start first thing in the morning. Welcome back guys to day 2 of the garage build. We're going to finish this front end up today. By the end of the day we will have it all back buttoned up and hopefully start on the rear. I'll show you around. There's a lot of work to this, little troubles here and there, but for the most part it's going pretty smooth. So we'll see you here in a bit. Okay, so to go over everything we did yesterday, we have removed the sway bars, lower control arms, the axles, tie rods, rear cross member, which I tried showing you last night, but it was so dark. But the rear cross member is removed, so now we can trim over here, which you'll see here after a while. We'll cut that off with a hacksaw. We're going to remove the differential, I believe, next, which is going to be interesting. I'm not going to drop the rack and pinion. I've seen videos do it both ways. I really don't want to mess with it, so I'm going to see if I can leave it in and get it out. Okay guys, I do want to show you something regarding the rack and pinion. Like I said, they say to remove it. They don't want you to damage any wiring. But if you look under here, you can see these connectors right in here. And basically, I'm going to pull all 3 of those connectors off. And then that will move the wires. And you actually have a clear shot to get the diff out. If you look, the only ear that is behind the wires is the one that you have to use a wrench on anyway. So we are clear on the diff all around there. There's nothing going to be in the way when we drop it. When I remove these wires, this will be clear. The only thing I'll have to do is tilt the diff down, which as you can see, I have a clear shot here. I tilt it and this will slide right out, and we do not have to mess with this whole rack and pinion, which is going to save some time. So let's get to it. Okay guys, the frame is cut. There's no going back now. No stock cross member bolt holes. Now I'm going to clean it up because as you can see it looks pretty gnarly, but it cut off really clean, really flat, just like it was supposed to. Both sides are done. I'm going to clean it up and take the diff out. Alrighty guys, I'm switching to the GoPro. The other camera died. I do want to give an update. I got the diff out. I was able to lay underneath it, lower it very gently, and basically put it on my hips, which I saw somebody else do in a previous video, so I knew it wasn't that heavy, and it truly wasn't. So it's sitting right here. We're going to trim the ears off like we're supposed to, or the ear I should say. Be very careful. These 2 brackets, one here, are the ones that you cannot get to until you actually drop it a little ways. So I did drop it a little ways and got those out. And of course the vent tube, don't forget about the vent tube. I will definitely link some videos down below of how I knew about these tube and the vent tube. You do not need to take the rack and pinion out, just like I thought. I would highly recommend undoing these so you have wiggle room, and once you do, it comes out pretty easy, especially if you have help. I'm by myself, so it's a little more difficult, but it is out. You do not have to remove this. So I'm going to plug these back in and start installing the drop brackets. Alrighty, so we currently have the diff out. I have sawed off the ear like I'm supposed to, and we have officially put the first 2 parts on this truck. We have the new drop bracket for the diff on the driver and passenger side. So those are mounted using one of those to where you can get the bit around. Plug those wires in. Now it's time to put the diff on. Start putting the cross members on, which I'm super excited to get those on. The diff is back in. As you can see, it is currently loose. We have to install the front cross member next and do the support bracket before we can tighten everything down. So it wasn't that bad to put in. I literally laid on my creeper and put this on my lap, and the truck's not very high, of course. It's only on those little 3-ton jacks, so I have 2 for safety. But I was able just to push my hips up and put the bolts in, so that's what it's looking like. Everything clears where we cut that ear off in there. Everything clears perfectly. We got the plugs plugged back in. We have the hoses all connected, and now it's lunchtime. Okay, the diff is fully installed. We have the new support brace right there installed. Everything is tightened down. Everything is plugged in. As I said before, there is a little hose extender for the vent tube, which is already on. I may try to show you that in a second. Bracket there. We have the drive shaft reinstalled. So next we're going to put this rear cross member on, see if my cuts were right, and start putting control arms on. Here is the extension vent tube. The black is the original. They give you the little connector there, and then the clear is the one they provided, and it's all back on. We're making pretty good progress. I'm going to show you a couple more things that I've done so far. We're about to disassemble the struts, which I will record so you can see all that. So this is where we're at. We have the lower control arm on. The CV axle is back in and tight. One thing that's nice about rough country is all these bolts are preloaded with Loctite, so you don't have to add any. I've added some to some other places, but certain bolts do have Loctite on them. We have the sway bar with the spaghetti noodle, is what they call, like a spaghetti noodle link. It looks kind of weird right now, but once you lift this up and the truck is actually sitting, it fits really nice. So don't worry there. Everything is tight back on the sway bar, and that's how she's looking so far. Okay guys, I'll show you what I'm doing. I did get the strut disassembled. Just make note that the new Rough Country 7-inch knuckle kit and the bracket kit do come with this black spacer in here, which I showed you in the previous what's included video. So you do have to disassemble the struts. I was very, very worried about this because I don't like all the pressure that's dealt with this. It's just something I don't like. But I did it. I took it off. One thing to note is to make sure that when you're taking the top nut off after you get the spring compressed, there's a, well, this piece right here will spin with it. So when this is on here, you have to hold this with vice grips and then turn this off with a wrench. So if anybody else has trouble, that's how you do it. Then take the clear spacer off, install the new one, which sits on the factory little stop there, and we're going to put it back together. If you don't use this, it will keep your truck about an inch less than what you want. Okay guys, I did it. Here is the spacer. So like I said, it goes between the bottom stock plate and the whitish clear spring retention plate that is stock as well. And this is all it is. Let me tell you, it is not easy, so Rough Country, shame on you for having us do that now. But yeah, bolt there, spring compressor, pull it all out, disassemble it, put it back together, and voila. Alrighty guys, I wanted to show you one thing like I just spoke about with these struts. So please feel free to comment below if I'm wrong, but on some leveling kits that require spacers up here, do not keep that straight. So everybody online said you stick screwdrivers, use a pry bar, and then you can literally rotate the bottom of that strut. And if you think about it, it's just a strut inside. It's not going to hurt anything. So some may agree, some may disagree, but all I had to do was I used my handy dandy bar that I use as a breaker bar basically, and put it on the bottom of the strut, and then I was able to turn it. It was easy. It wasn't stiff. It wasn't hard. I didn't even pull very hard, so there's not a lot of force going in. But there's the new straight spacer. There's the strut right in there. You can see the new preload spacer right there, and now we're going to get her bolted up to the bottom. Okay, a little bit of an update for you guys. I have it all back together. I just have to keep pushing. I can't film very much because I am on a a time limit. I got an alignment this afternoon, so I do have the front all done. The last thing I have to do is get the wheels and tires on and then tighten the lower bolts, which the instructions say to do very last. So I will do that, and there you go. So trimming the dust shield here worked perfect. Everything went back together perfect. These I'm worried about. I cut 3/8 on both sides just like I'm supposed to, but I'm scared that it won't align, but hopefully we won't have any issues. And yeah, we have our little cable here for the ABS. I'm gonna do something about it because I don't like the way it is. And let's see, everything else is tight, everything else is done. There's all the drop brackets, the new knuckle, the shock, and of course the new top strut spacer. So we're getting there. We're going to start on the rear here in just a bit. Here we go, guys. Front is done. Every bolt is tight. I've checked every wire. Nothing's pinching. It looks freaking awesome, especially those tiny tires. She's squatting pretty hard. I did check. I measured from the ground floor to the top of the, I don't know what you call that. It's like the OnStar antenna or whatever, and it is still well under 7 foot, so still no issues currently getting it out of the garage. So now we're going to start on the back. Well, guys, she's done. Here's the final product. I'm on a very tight schedule, so I'll do some more pictures, but these are the other tires I had. These are not the new ones I have. These are my old ones, my 32s. So it is huge. I love it. So now I'm going to get in the truck and go to get it aligned. Alrighty, guys, she is 100% done. We have the 7-inch rough country lift, 35-inch Arturo trail blades, kept the same rims, airplane. I gotta go do that tomorrow. But yeah, so she is all suited up and ready to go. So we will see you on the next one. Hope you liked it, and enjoy the rest of the video.